Hey everybody, Dr. G here. I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist as well as a body language expert, and today we're going to be analyzing the behavior and body language of Jeffrey Epstein. Before we get started with this, couple of quick things. One, I wanted to make sure you know this is not a psychological evaluation of any kind. These are just my opinions. In addition to that, I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. All right, let's go. What we're going to be analyzing today is a video that was recently released in the Epstein files. This is Steve Bannon interviewing Jeffrey Epstein. Before we actually start the analysis, I want to talk to you for a minute about the Epstein files and how I'm going to be approaching the Epstein files this month. If you've watched my channel before, you've probably seen that I've covered the Epstein files extensively. And this month, I am going to be covering them a lot more. The 3 million new files that dropped, I'm going to be covering so many different aspects of these. I've got a lot of different video ideas that I'm already working on, so please stay tuned for all of those. But the DOJ is not making it easy to get a hold of all of the files. There are 4 data sets that were released in this most recent batch. 2 of the data sets, very easy to download. The other 2 data sets are no longer available. They removed them almost immediately once they were released. You can look up individual files, but doing that for 2 million plus files is very challenging. So as far as pictures, videos, and so forth, the vast majority of those are still not available. So this may take some time, but I will be covering the Epstein files extensively this month. All right, let's just jump right in.
Crisis and some companies are crashing. What's happened? And he said, there's some crisis and some companies are going bankrupt. I said, are you sure? And he said, yeah, it's all over the papers. We're all terrified.
Right now, he's talking about the financial crisis in 2008. At this time, he was actually incarcerated. So we're going to watch him talk about that. We're going to look at a couple of other clips. This whole interview is actually about 2 hours long, but if I'm being frank, the majority of it's not that interesting. So we're just going to watch several clips that I do think are interesting.
Life savings. Because we have either a 401k or our pension funds. We don't know anything about money. Mr. Epstein, can you tell us, like, what's going on? Am I going to be able to afford my children's education? Am I going to be bankrupt like this company called Lehman Brothers? And there's another company in the front page.
So right now, as he's talking about being an expert, you see a lot of excitement. You see his hands out in front of him. You see his eyebrows going up. We're seeing all the signs of body language that he wants you to listen to every word he's saying.
And there's another company in the front page today called Bear Stearns. Oh, no, I said.
Now, for obvious reasons, it's kind of strange seeing him do this hand gesture, but he's someone that is very animated when he's excited about what he's talking about. He is someone that uses his body language a lot. He's very kinetic, which is important to know because when he is not kinetic, when he's not using his body language, that also tells us something. So keep that in mind.
Front page today called Bear Stearns. Oh, no, I said. Why?
Now, watch his hands. You see the tips of his fingers right here. What he's doing right now is something we call steepling. Now, when people are steepling, they want to be the smartest guy in the room. They want to be the expert. You'll see this with CEOs, with politicians. You see this with people that have positions of power. So as he's talking about being an expert, you see him with his hands in a steepled position because he wants to remind you, I'm the expert right here.
Because that's the company I was a partner in. And in fact, that was a company I had a very large investment in. So, as a great story, I didn't have my Wall Street Journal, but in the early mornings, you're allowed to make 2 phone calls, collect. And when you pick up the phone.
Now, one thing that you'll also possibly notice is that the man does not blink very often. One thing that's true of psychopaths, if you believe that he is one, is that they actually have a slower blink rate than your average person. This is studied. This is a fact. So it's interesting that if you pay attention to his blink rate, it's very, very slow.
Getting a call from the Palm Beach County Jail, will you accept reverse charges? And the person either says yes, and the call goes through, or the person says no. The person I had called was Jimmy Kane, the president of Bear Stearns. And I said, tell me.
See a little eyebrow flash right there. He's excited by this story. I'm not sure who the original audience was for this, but I think this kind of information is not that exciting for your average audience unless this is a group of people that are very excited about finance.
The president of Bear Stearns. And I said, tell me what's going on. And so that my knowledge of the financial crisis happened with Jimmy, who was at the center of the storm, telling me about what Lehman had gone under, and they were trying to figure out a way, should they bail out Bear Stearns?
And And as he's talking about this, he's actually flexing his steepling. His hands are moving back and forth. So he doesn't actually look as confident as he wants to. He's not feeling as confident as he wants to as he's talking about this, possibly because he's talking about the fact that he was incarcerated at the time when he's giving this advice or when he's calling these different companies.
Did it strike you at the time?
And this is also a fake smile. I want to show you this right here. He's trying really hard to smile because that's the look he wants to give off, because sometimes we want people to see how good we feel, how happy we feel. This isn't real, though, because contempt is on one side of the face. It's the only emotion that's only on one side. I don't think that he's feeling contemptuous right now. I think this is just a bad fake smile. And because if it's a real smile, it will be equal on both sides of the face.
Did it strike you at the time of the mess you had made of your life to be in a situation that you're one of the greatest financial minds in the world, looked at by world leaders? And
now, one thing you can also tell is that he is impulsive. He's really struggling to not respond immediately. So Steve Bannon is asking him a question, and he's trying not to interrupt, but he wants to respond. He doesn't want to listen. If you watch his mouth, you can see this.
you're one of the greatest financial minds in the world.
You can also hear him sighing because he doesn't like the question.
You had made of your life to be in a situation that you're one of the greatest financial minds in the world, looked at by world leaders and asked your thinking by the most prominent and important people in the world. And
You see him squinting right here, too. Really doesn't like being asked about this.
and here you are in solitary confinement. You got to make a collect call to somebody. Did it strike you at the time how
He's going through so many emotions right now, trying to show happiness. He bares his teeth a little bit because there's a little bit of anger in there.
Did it strike you at the time how all the threads of your life had come together and put you in a position, or you had put yourself in that position?
No.
So it never struck you when you had to make one collect call.
You see how still he's being right now. When he wants you to pay attention to him, he moves around a lot. He wants this question to pass on by. He doesn't like this.
Put you in a position, or you had put yourself in that position?
No.
So it never struck you when you had to make
Because Steve Bannon just said you'd put yourself in that position. People like Jeffrey Epstein don't ever want to acknowledge the role they played. They are victims in their own mind. So that it's not their fault that they're in that position. It's somebody else's fault. This is not just, it's not my fault that I'm here. It's somebody else. So being asked a question like that would never truly compute for somebody like Jeffrey Epstein.
from a jail cell that was 6x9 with a steel bed and your food being passed in through a slot.
The question you want to ask is, who was the other call to?
Okay, who was the other call to?
See, this is what he wants to focus on. Listen to how important I am. I called somebody else important. This is what I want you to hear.
You want to ask is, who was the other call to?
Okay, who was the other call to?
The other call was to my friend at J.P. Morgan, who was then, I didn't know it at the time, trying to buy Bear Stearns.
See, he's back to being animated again. He's excited by this. He's talking about how smart he is. He's talking about the different plays that he made at the time. So this is where he's in his element. He gets very excited about talking about how great he is. What we're going to do now is we're going to switch to another clip. This clip I find interesting because I want you to see who's in the background.
The wall, or in calculus, approached the limit, but never really reached it. So he said, it's okay, you don't have to reach it. We can do lots of the mathematics.
So right now they're talking about math. He's someone that is truly obsessive about academics. He loves academics. He invited lots of academics to different parties and things like that. We're going to be talking about that in different videos, actually. But right now, he does have this fake sort of intellectual way of speaking where he talks about things that make him sound smart, although he doesn't actually talk about them in any really deep way. So that's what he's talking about right now for anybody who cares.
There. And we could do lots of mathematics almost being at the limit.
It looks like we've got an appearance by Ghislaine Maxwell, which is very interesting because if anybody is familiar with their relationship, they're very close. Obviously, this is not an opportune time to appear in frame, but I thought it would be interesting to see when she makes an accidental appearance.
There. And we could do lots of mathematics almost being at the limit. And this is really important, Steve, for today. Because most of the science...
As you can see, she's awkwardly standing there. I don't think that Epstein has any awareness whatsoever that she's in the background right now.
Up until today was things that are starting to approach the limit.
You can see her nod to somebody. I assume whoever's directing this or whoever it is that's coordinating all of this is doing some nonverbals with her, but if you watch, she nods her head right here.
Was things that are starting to approach the limit. You were taught in high school that if you had 1 divided by 0, if you remember your high school algebra, you were told, what's the answer to that? Is there an answer to 1 divided by 0? No, if you were in high school, I'd say, stay away from it. It's the book.
One thing, if you actually watch the whole 2 hours, Jeffrey Epstein says a whole lot of nothing. He truly is someone that just goes on and on and on. If it wasn't for the fact that Maxwell is awkwardly standing in the background, I wouldn't even bother showing this clip.
It's not able to be determined. That there's a bunch of things. But in fact, 1 divided by 0 is a straight.
And as you can see, she quietly walks off after holding up a little sign, I suppose, for whoever it is she was communicating with. So nothing too exciting about her body language right there, but I just thought it was kind of interesting to see her accidentally step into frame while Jeffrey Epstein continues to pontificate about mathematics.
Bunch of things. But in fact, 1 divided by 0 is a strange things happen.
Now we're going to listen to Jeffrey Epstein talking about his fortune as well as being categorized as a predator.
You. What's the other argument?
Let me give you that I know in my case,
Is your money dirty money?
if you live.
Now, when he was asked that, watch his eyes right here.
I know in my case,
Is your money dirty money?
Immediately his eyes close. He did not like that question at all. We close our eyes when we think or hear things that we don't like. So he immediately tried to block that question out. He was not a fan of that at all.
Let me give you that I know in my case,
Is your money dirty money?
if you live.
I just asked a question. Is your money dirty money?
No, it's not. So
You hear how quietly he said that? As I pointed out earlier, he's big with body language. He moves his hands a lot. He just said, no, it's not. He's trying to hide what he's saying. So I would not take a response like that at face value. That's what we look at, and that's what we look for when we're looking for deception.
if you live.
I just asked a question. Is your money dirty money?
No, it's not. So in fact,
Why is it
so-
not dirty money?
because I earned it. A heart.
But you earned it.
I earned it legally.
We went back to this before. You earned
Yes.
it. You earned it advising the worst people in the world.
Now, see, he smiled immediately when he was starting to get frustrated.
You earned it.
This is something that manipulative people sometimes practice, to smile when they're feeling other emotions to cover that emotion, so that it's a mask in essence. So this is very, very typical of people who have histories like Jeffrey Epstein.
Advising the worst people in the world, right, that do enormous bad things, and just to make more money.
And briefly, we just saw contempt. I talked earlier about how contempt is on one side of the mouth. Watch his side of the mouth right here.
Right, that do enormous bad things, and just to
That right there, that's a look of contempt.
and just to make more money.
So instead of asking me the question, should you take the money? Because I think it's a legitimate question.
Do you think it's a legitimate question?
Yes, no
Why?
question. Because
Now, you see, when he responded to that, he looked down. This is something we do when we're losing confidence. He doesn't like this question, doesn't like having to answer it. He says it's a legitimate question, but he loses confidence responding to it.
I think it's a legitimate question.
Do you think it's a legitimate question?
Yes, no
Why?
question. Because I think about, I think ethics is always a complicated subject, but I can tell you that with the money I gave to help try to eradicate polio in Pakistan and India.
See, he's excited to talk about things that he's done that he feels are altruistic. So you see him getting animated again. When he's responding to the questions directly, he's trying to hide, wants it to go on. Now that he's talking about his altruism, he's getting open again. He's getting energetic again.
Coming from what are you, class 3 sexual predator?
Tier 1.
What's tier 1's the highest and worst?
No, I'm
The lowest?
I'm the lowest.
You're the lowest. Okay, tier
That was very interesting that Steve Bannon immediately went to his categorization being the highest and worst.
what's tier 1's the highest and worst?
No, I'm
The lowest?
I'm the lowest.
You're the lowest. Okay, tier 1, you're the lowest.
And you hear him speaking quietly again. He doesn't want to talk about this subject.
But a criminal.
Yes.
That the money came from them. What percentage of people do you estimate? I understand you don't like probabilities. Do you estimate would say, I don't care, I want the money for my children?
I would say everyone said, I want the money for my children.
Did they know where the money came from?
I think if you
See,
told them, if I told them the devil,
100%.
the devil
Himself.
The devil himself said, I'm going to exchange some dollars for your child's life.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a...
It's very, very interesting, his reaction to that. When he was asked if he thinks he's the devil himself, he froze entirely. And that it shows that the freeze, flight, or fight response is getting activated. He initially did not know how to answer that question. That caught him off guard pretty dramatically, actually.
God's life.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but
You see, squinting eyes, closing his eyes, freezing.
I do have a good mirror.
It's a serious question. Do you think you're the devil himself?
So he struggled with that question, then even looked to the producer for help because he really doesn't know how to answer this question. He tried to play it off as a joke. Steve Bannon kept pressing him on it. He looks very uncomfortable here.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
It's a serious question. Do you think you're the devil himself?
I don't know. Why would you say that?
Because you...
See, starts scratching the back of his head. We do this when we're uncomfortable. We're seeing pacifying behaviors. He feels very bothered by this question, probably feels trapped by it because Steve Bannon, even though it seems like they have a rapport, he doesn't really let him get away with not answering questions. He's actually pushing him pretty hard on this.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
I don't know. Why would you say that?
You also saw his brow go down like this. There's a bit of anger there, too.
Because you have all the attributes. You're incredibly smart. You remember, the devil is somebody knows.
Smart?
The devil's brilliant. You read Milton's Paradise Lost.
No, the devil scares me.
Satan is the...
There was that contempt again.
You read Milton's Paradise Lost.
No, the devil scares me.
Satan is at the number 1 or 2 archangel, and the reason he goes to hell and leads the rebellion is because he can't be the top guy. And his thing is, I'd rather reign in hell than serve in heaven.
I saw that in a movie once called American Dharma. I don't remember who said it. Okay, we have to go.
So he's trying to leave it on a high note because he's getting ready to wrap things up. So he's trying to talk about something that's relatable at this point to get it off of the heaviness of this subject because he really does not like the way that this ended.
Who said it? Okay, we have to go.
Okay.
All right, so you saw the clap. That's really a way to punctuate, I am done, not answering anything else, already showing his body language that he's getting up and that he's done. All right, let's go ahead and wrap things up here. Hopefully this is helping you better understand some of the behavior and body language of Jeffrey Epstein. There's really not a lot of footage of him that's available at this point, so it was interesting to get a chance to actually see him have conversations, to see him during an interview, to see a bit of what his body language was like. But he is somebody that, because he's animated, his body language is actually pretty easy to read. As I said at the beginning of this video, I am working on a number of other Epstein Files videos, so please keep your eye out for those. I'm going to be releasing those over the next couple of weeks. If there's any that you want me to analyze, if there's anything specific that you want me to check out, please let me know in the comments below. Last thing before we get finished up is I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. All right, thanks for watching.